The Paradise Arcade contains graphic language. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to The Paradise Arcade with Kyle and Eric, promoting synthwave, music, and culture. Welcome to episode number 1 of The Paradise Arcade.
That's so weird.
Isn't it? Yeah. I don't know.
It's a more manageable number to remember when we're doing new episodes.
That's definitely true. Here is episode 1. So this is our first show of the new podcast that we're focusing primarily on synthwave music and culture, which, gee, surprise, is kind of what we've always done anyways. But
that's what you guys like.
It's what you like.
So we'll give you more.
Yeah, we'll give you more. We'll focus more on that. So this episode, we have our Watch Out for Snakes interview, which is pretty great. That actually runs quite a bit of time, and mostly it's Matt talking and not either one of us, so it's impressive.
There you go. If you don't like listening to us, I don't know what you're doing here, but
well,
it's a good interview for you.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's mostly a one-sided interview because he could, he went for it, so I'm happy about that. We'll talk about some of the news, things going on, and, this week we're drinking. But it's not that important, and we're not doing any of this stuff. We're just drinking whisk. I feel pretty good about it.
Drinking whiskey, doing a show. There you go. That's it. That's all you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So as far as social media and all that stuff goes, pretty much everything has been flipped over. So Instagram is Paradise Arcade. Twitter is Paradise_Arcade, but if you just type in The Paradise Arcade, you'll find it on Twitter. There's a Facebook. I had to start a brand new Facebook page, which is a bunch of hot bullshit.
I'm sure that was easier than trying to change an existing one.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, they just said, because it's one thing, it would be considered falsifying or misleading any potential people, so I just had to start a new one.
So is it Paradise Arcade or The Paradise
It's
Arcade?
the.
Instagram, The
Paradise. The Paradise Arcade, yes. Find it there. It's already upticking pretty well, so I'm happy people have pretty much latched onto it right away. So thanks for those early adopters and converts from the old Instagram account. And then Patreon has been updated as well, the all-important money begging portion of the show.
Money begging?
Money begging. Money beggins. It's my new name. It's my DJ name. So, anyways, lots of stuff there. People were actually asking, you do not have to change any of your subscriptions for your RSS feeds or anything like that because the accounts have just been switched over. So you won't have to do anything. Also, all the old episodes will be there for you to listen to. So if you want to go back and listen to any of the old Two Poor Bastards episodes, it's still there. Which the crazy thing is, people take the journey every single day through the run of that show. So thanks for those who are
got a lot of content.
A lot of content for y'all. Thanks for going through it and latching onto it. Really, really appreciate that. And obviously we have a lot of our old synthwave interviews there. And, I'm really happy that we ended with the Droid Bishop interview. That seems like the perfect ending of that particular era. Ended on a high note. Transition into a new thing. So, what's going on right now? We've got the Blood Music. I'm not sure if this is the final sale because I thought the sale before was the final sale.
That was the final rarities sale. So this is just a blowout sale. And after this sale's done, prices will go back up. So it's not like this is it. It could be.
I'm still confused, and maybe I know that Z could probably answer this. Is Blood Music going away, Or he's just trying to clear out inventory, just does not hold on to a bunch of shit.
I don't think they're going to be doing much for releases anymore after the year.
I mean, it's sad because I feel like Blood it holds a very particular like fondness for me, and as far as synthwave and darkwave goes, so it's sad to see that go. But I get, people got to do different things. There's like a new synthwave record label popping up every other day, it seems like. So there's no shortage.
Who are these labels?
They pop up on my feed.
I want to know. Are they, well, of course I'm like instantly thinking, are they releasing vinyl? But it could be anything else. Yeah,
I mean, it could literally be they could just be digital only, really, which would be kind of weird. Why would you even be a record label if you only release digital stuff only? How that works, I'm not really sure.
I don't know. But it's sometimes I like forget about stuff like laser discs.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't do vinyl.
And are they? No, they do their own. They do their own stuff.
So they do like CDs, cassettes, that kind of thing. And I know like Electronic Purification Records, like with Robert Parker's Awakening, like on the back of that it says, laser discs and that because they released it.
I need a copy of that.
You do. We do need a copy.
Keep an eye out. Anyone in the interwebs, keep an eye out for me. I need that on vinyl specifically. Because I keep seeing it pop up as like CD and the other. I'm like,
Yeah. I think there's a splatter and a black version. I have the black version. That's what I wanted. Do you have any preference?
I don't give a shit.
You just want it on vinyl. That's it.
Vinyl.
Okay.
That's all that matters to me. It doesn't sound like shit. That's also the secondary important thing to me.
This is also, this is a good thing. Hey, if we want something on vinyl, we'll put it out there. Hit us up if you've got one for sale or trade.
Yeah.
Hit us up too if you've got something that you might want to trade, and we might have something that we could work out.
I just want to let you know that Kyle pretty much has most of everything, and you're pretty open to trading. So you put a feeler out there, the full extent of the jam on Instagram, if you want to trade vinyl with this boy.
Or my synthwave account V5, which is spelled kind of fucked up. I should probably make it easier for people to find.
But you know what I noticed is that you're starting to put vinyl back on your regular account.
Excuse me. Video game vinyl is usually what I post on my regular account because that's more video game centric.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought I broke off and made a separate one because I thought people were getting bummed out because I was posting a bunch of vinyl all the time. I've been thinking maybe I should put it all back on one account. I don't know.
I think you should do it all on one. I mean, it's all heavy. Is there any significant change for your V5E, whatever the fuck thing?
Yeah. Well, it's there's a decent amount there, but I've noticed that I've gotten more followers on my regular account since I stopped doing that.
Oh, well then shit. Maybe that's your passion page where you just have that and let the vinyl nerds be up on that. Also, Time Slaves has got a Black Friday deal going on there, so that's pretty cool. I mean, 'tis the season.
And they put out a Virgin Black vinyl 3-pack special, which they said was available for a short amount of time. And it had Lucy in Disguise, Sebastian Gamble, and one other artist on that for a special price. So you can get that. I was wondering if Laser Steel was going to get that package, but I haven't heard of anything yet. I think this sale might count just for what you can get from Time Slaves themselves.
Gotcha.
Not from our U.S. distributor. Oh, you little toesy action going on.
Let's play some footsie. The problem, as always, it's like there's too much shit to keep track of. Too many vinyl releases. And I don't have enough money.
Tell me about it. Or things you have to buy again.
How do you... What?
Well, Client Liaison did a repress of Diplomatic Immunity. So I had to get that because the first pressing had a bunch of issues. So it's two discs in this set. And pretty much everyone's first disc was wildly warped, like really bad. And mine's bad, like to the point where I'm scared to even play it. And it's on the outside edge of the first disc. And the problem is that my favorite songs are on the outside edge of both of those sides of that first disc. So when I saw this repress happen, I had to buy that instantly. And it's coming from Australia. So one, it's expensive as it is for the vinyl. And then two, you have to pay for international EMS shipping. So the shipping was like $20-some.
Dude, fucking getting into this vinyl game, the international shipping shit is just awful.
But then again, I feel really bad, and I always have, because I see the fans from Australia always complaining about no matter where they're buying shit from, they get screwed with shipping prices.
Yeah, so. They live in Australia. That's their fault. And then there was the recently conclusion of the Neon Rose Fest. Neon Rose Fest. The two-city synthwave festival, Portland and Seattle, which what it looks like was a smashing success. Pretty much anyone was there. And our boy Watch Out for Snakes was part of that whole deal too. And it looked pretty fantastic. And it's interesting to me that we seem to be getting more of these kinds of festivals, congregation of things. It's probably the only way to really get a big draw in reality for synthwave. Because if you smash, because it was like 15 mid to high profile artists on that roster.
I'm not sure how many, but there were very big names there. Tokyo Rose, which I said before earlier in the previous podcast that we had, was my synthwave artist of the year for 2019.
Oh, yeah.
And Makeup and Vanity Set was there. Lucy in Disguise was there. Watch Out for Snakes, like you said, is there. Lots of hotness.
Fuck. Robert Parker, wasn't he there? Or no?
Not that I know of.
Here, just for my own...
We're going to fact checking. We're looking it up right now.
So, Dream Reaper, Michael Weber, Lucy in Disguise, Makeup and Vanity Set, Betamax.
But yes, Betamax. I forgot about that.
Psych, Dead Royalty, DJ Moontalk, Knight Rider, System 96. Yeah. And I thought Nina was part of this. I guess I was wrong, maybe. It's hard. Like, there's a lot of shit. There's Helsinki, Neon Rose, Atlanta, Ecosynthetic. And I thought that there was like maybe one more. So it's really cool. So I like that. We'll see what this kind of turns into. What are your thoughts? Because is this like a newer thing versus like even 3-4 years ago?
I don't know. The Pacific Northwest has been doing stuff. They seem to get a lot of the shows, and it creeps down to like San Francisco as well for a lot of these big shows. The scene's out there, the people are out there, so they can obviously do it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was out there so I could see these things.
Well, there are talks of bringing a festival to the Midwest, if you will, of a larger caliber of...
Midwestival.
We're going to have a Midwestival of synthwave folks. Maybe. We'll see. Early stage of talks about that, but I'd like to see something, again, in the center of the United States or middle-ish and see what we could do for that. That'd be really cool. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a break real quick and play some Watch Out for Snake songs, and we'll be right back. Thank you, Matt, Watch out for snakes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Amazing. So you just got back or had a little downtime from touring. You want to tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. So I won't like go all the way back, but but Glitch Black reached out to myself and Gregorio Franco a number of months ago and was interested in trying to put something together with the three of us just to kind of make our own opportunities, see some places that we hadn't seen before. And so credit to him for doing a lot of the coordination that, we would typically be relying on a label or, a booking agent to take care of. Glitch Black really kind of did the lion's share of things in terms of setting things up and really created some cool opportunities for us. We got to travel out west by way of the southern U.S. and Gregorio and I just kind of hopped in a car, met up with Glitch Black in Baton Rouge, and then played a couple of dates out to the West Coast. And then kind of made our way up as far as San Francisco, and then turned around and came back down almost the same way that we went out, but hitting up some different cities along the way. And it was just a really good time. Some of the cities were real surprises to me in a good way. I really was pleasantly surprised with a lot of our turnouts, and not every show is going to be perfect, but even the shows where we had a smaller number of people coming out, those smaller number they were all like super devoted and really into it, and it was just a really great experience getting to meet a lot of these people that we've only really had the opportunity to interact with online. So yeah, it was really cool. I would definitely do it again. And already starting to try and plan something in a couple of different places. We hit the West Coast. It would be nice, in my opinion, like if I could get up to the Northeast, and I've also got my sights set on Europe at some point. But I don't know whether whether logistically I'm really ready for that or not.
So in this last tour, what city went the hardest? Which one surprised you the most?
So I would say Dallas really surprised me the most in a good way. I really wasn't sure what the scene was going to be like in Dallas, and it turned out to be great. Dallas, and I'm just going to compare it to Nashville just because that's the only kind of similar experience that I've had personally before. But it was very similar to Nashville, where there were a bunch of venues along this one strip, and people would just kind of walk along outside, and if they saw something or heard something that they thought was cool, they would just come on in and hang out and yeah, just really kind of throw down with us. So we had a good amount of people that showed up at the start, but as the evening wore on, and maybe this is a testament to the show presence that the three of us had, but we were able to kind of convince people in off the street, and they see Glitch Black jumping around in his costume, and he's got like the cool visuals, and Gregorio's getting dark with it, and just kind of definitely has a mystique to him. And then I do my whole guitar shtick, so
Which is awesome,
I
by
think
the way.
that yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, everybody seemed to get down on it there, and so it turned out to be one of the surprises for me.
So is this your like first touring experience, or how long have you been doing music? And this is just kind of a prelude into another question, but anyways.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been playing music for a long, long, long time. I think my first band was probably in 2003. And I started out in a hardcore band in Florida, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
And was playing keyboards in that hardcore band because it was kind of that like melodic hardcore period of time where Under Oath was starting to blow up a little bit, and people were experimenting a little bit more, bringing electronics into that scene. And so I think as early as that, I was kind of rocking a guitar there, which, it was almost a necessity because all the other guys in that hardcore band were throwing down in these like sick basement and floor shows, and I had to keep up with them and not kind of like anchor myself behind a stationary keyboard at the back. So it was really initially just to kind of like keep up with them.
Or to keep your shit from getting broken.
Yeah.
Well, that too, yeah. So, there were definitely some times where like the pit, like at the floor shows, would knock into my keyboard, and I'd be playing the part with one hand and like trying to hold it down onto the stand with the other so that it didn't fall off. So anyways, yeah. So I played in that band for a couple of years, and then when I moved here to Atlanta, around I guess it was 2006 or so, I played in we described ourselves as like a synth punk band, but again, was kind of doing this. It was kind of like an indie rock thing, but I was still sporting the guitar there too. So that thing's really kind of like followed me through all my projects, just because it was one of those things where once you get a small taste of being able to move around on stage and really engage the audience that way, it's really hard to go back to just kind of standing in one spot and not being able to work people in the crowd.
So really, you came into this project fairly well prepared then. I mean, going to the tour and going in what you're doing and being on stage, you knew what to expect, and you knew how to engage the audience then.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've would say that the majority of my experience, I've had experience across those two different earlier projects, but I really didn't tour in the hardcore band. We played mostly local shows in Florida because it's hard to get out of Florida when you're living in Central Florida. It takes like 4 to 5 hours just to get to Georgia from the area that we were in. Yeah. So. But with that indie rock project, we toured the East Coast a couple of times, went up, to New York and Boston, and kind of made our way over to Chicago, and we did that a couple of years in a row, and played a couple of dates on Warped Tour.
Which
you go,
was sweet. Fun. Respect.
Yeah. So it was. I was kind of coming into it with eyes open in terms of what the tour could be like. And I think that's part of the reason why I was really, pleasantly surprised about how it went, because we never really had a bad turnout in any of the cities that we hit with Dark Future.
Yeah, and the question I was kind of, initially alluding to is, what's the response with this project? Has there been much more of a fan engagement and reaction versus your other projects that you've done in the past?
It's hard to say. I mean, this is really my first solo project that I've done. And it's definitely a different experience when you're in a full band, because then, everybody in the band is kind of working to promote and bring people out. Sure. and do all that kind of thing. But I mean, I would say that, this project, I think is unique to me because it's really the first time that this is really like my music, and everything about how I approach Watch Out for Snakes is exactly how I want it to be. I don't have to kind of run things past a couple of other bandmates, which is really nice, having that level of creative control. And I'm kind of at a point in my life where I'm pretty comfortable with the kind of music that I want to play and what I'm into and how I want to write. And so I don't really feel pressured in any way to have Watch Out for Snakes be something that I don't want it to be,
right.
Which is a very freeing kind of experience.
And I'll say, I mean, I really like both your albums. Like they're bangers, and kind of what I've noticed is like a lot of these, people where you've been in bands before, like, there's a lot of people that we've talked to in synthwave in general where they come from bands and they do the solo project, and kind of rolling all of that experience into the new thing. And I really like Scars. It's a really great album, actually. And on the strength of that, like, what has been the response? Like, has there been like a noticeable difference between the first album and the second album?
Yeah, I would say that it's been overwhelmingly more positive with the release of Scars, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily because people like the music better. I think it's kind of difficult to tell because when I released Upgrade, I really didn't do a whole lot of pre-planning for it, and when I realized that um, I was getting ready to play Outrun the Sun like earlier in the spring, or I guess it was like kind of early summer of last year. Um, I kind of had to accelerate things and go ahead and release it digitally without having physical copies of it available, and so it definitely felt like more disorganized to me in terms of how I approached kind of the planning of the album release. Whereas with Scars, I've kind of learned from a lot of the mistakes that I made that time around, and have been able to kind of get ahead of some of the gotchas that I know are coming.
Right.
So it's been a much smoother experience for me, and I think it's been more of a quick build with Scars, whereas like Upgrade, it was kind of like a slow, gradual gaining of fans as people just kind of happened across it. But because there wasn't kind of like a big like release date around it, it made it difficult for me to really build some buzz around it.
Yeah, there's a stark contrast between being in a band and doing everything yourself, and that growth of like you're the promoter, you're the writer, you're the booking agent, you're everything. And to me, like when I look at what you're doing through Twitter and the other outlets, like it seems like you really have it down. You're really engaging and putting videos up there and putting yourself out there. So I mean, obviously it's having an effect. So do you have a particular influence overall? I mean, I'm really curious how you got into your music, or what influenced you to go where you are now.
Yeah, a lot of it. So I kind of approached synthwave from kind of a different place than I think a lot of other artists did, because I honestly didn't know that synthwave as a genre even existed until I was getting ready to release Upgrade, and then I was just kind of like, oh, this is really cool. Like, there's kind of already a built-in audience for this whole like retro wave influenced style of music. But I kind of in that previous indie rock project that I left, when we broke up, myself and then the bassist from that group started writing a bunch of songs for what was originally going to be like a two-piece project that we were working on, and he and I were both like very influenced by Block Party and a lot of other like British indie rock bands that kind of go for a more kind of minimalistic sound. Same thing, like we listened to a lot of like Canadian music too. Like We Are Wolves was kind of a big influence for me. Just kind of listening to the way that they constructed their songs from very like minimal synth sounds, and that was always something that I found challenging in previous projects, is trying to figure out what my sound was going to be, because I mean, with electronic music you can make it sound however you want. And some people may find that super freeing, but I would get kind of bogged down in the sound design to the degree where I just wouldn't have any energy left for writing melodies and actually doing the songwriting itself. And so one of the decisions that I made early on, when that bassist and I were kind of starting our project, is that I was going to kind of go very minimal with the synth, similar to some of the musical groups that we were listening to at the time. And then as I kept going more and more minimal, I kind of realized that, well, this is starting to sound like video game music, and wouldn't it be cool if I basically just took elements of chiptune and started doing that with within this project. And that's kind of like how I arrived with that idea of doing the retro gaming type thing. And then when the bassist left, he had some other commitments and wasn't able to rehearse or just really kind of participate to the degree that he wanted to in the project. That's where I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to go and do a solo thing and take the same idea that we had, but because I don't play guitar, I decided that I was going to make it more of an electronic thing, and so yeah, it was really kind of the inception of it kind of came out of this idea of like, oh, hey, I want to make music that's video game inspired, like kind of soundtrack, influenced, and then actually do it in kind of a melodic way, because I still enjoy writing melodies and having a song structure and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how Watch Out for Snakes came to be.
Well, I have to ask the burning question now. Is how did you come upon the name?
So it's actually probably not as interesting as you might think. I'm a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan.
Okay.
And
yep, that's where I thought it was coming from. I was going to ask you that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I had kind of bandied about a couple of different ideas at one point, and I had kind of a journal of like, hey, here's some different project ideas or project name ideas that I could use at some point down the line. And I was kind of going through all of them, and I had written down Watch Out for Snakes at some point in the past, because that's one of my favorite callbacks from the show, Mystery Science Theater. And
I gotta give you
just kind of
that. Yeah, we're in MST3K land, just so you know. So
Minnesota,
exactly,
and the Twin Cities. So
speaking deeply to us
yeah,
right now.
You hit it for us. So I was hoping that's what it was a callback to. So I appreciate.
Yeah,
much respect.
I was just going to say that's definitely one of my favorite callbacks from the show. Like, I've got a bunch of different favorite episodes. It's always hard for me to decide which one I like the most, but the whole Watch Out for Snakes callback that they keep bringing back from episode to episode is definitely tops for me.
So you're talking about being influenced by chiptune video game music. Was there a particular video game that you grew up with, or a particular time that really spoke to you?
So I mean, my first system was original Nintendo, and that's kind of where I think a lot of the nostalgia for the chip sounds that I currently use comes from, because all the sounds that I use are synthesized from that original like Nintendo chipset. And so that's where I think that piece of things comes from. But as far as the game that I feel like had the most influence on me, it would probably be Final Fantasy III, when it was released in the US, like back in the day. I think it's, what is it, Final Fantasy VI
yes.
now? Yeah. So I have a distinct memory of sitting down after playing through that game and feeling so emotionally like moved by the soundtrack, especially like that main title in the game, that I sat down at my family's piano and spent time picking out and scoring the actual soundtrack. And still to this day, that's the only piece of music that I've ever scored in my life. It was just kind of transcribing what that theme was. And that for whatever reason, it really kind of connected with me, I think, because of the narrative in the game. And it was just, like the music really supported the narrative in a really cool way. So that was definitely kind of a turning point for me, where I realized that music could be cool. Like, I didn't have to just be practicing the boring stuff that my music teacher was telling me to play. I could actually sit down and pick things out that I enjoyed hearing and play that stuff.
That really speaks a lot, that's the one and only thing that you ever transcribed. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never been a big sheet music reader. I respect people like mad props to anybody that can sit down and sight read, but that's just not me. like
So you were
I
like listening to it and then playing it by ear and figure like playing on the keyboard and figuring out everything then basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I knew enough music theory where I knew, okay, well, I'm playing an A here, so I'm gonna write this down as an A, and like, okay, this is gonna be, this chord, and I'm gonna write that down. So, I mean, I knew enough to pick it out, but that's, yeah, that was really kind of the first time that I picked something out that way. And
What a great thing to pick up.
yeah, it was really cool. I mean, it definitely. I really wish that I was better at sight reading, and I was better at like improvisation. One of my nightmare moments was going out in junior high school for the jazz band, and for some reason, I got it into my head that I would be able to audition and get accepted playing keyboards in the jazz band. And I've never been so mortified in my life. Like I showed up to that audition, and like they put stuff down in front of me, and I was just I wanted to immediately just get up and walk out.
I hear
But
you.
like
Ya.
I kind of fumbled my way through it, and then like I don't even think they even had to say anything. I was just like, I'll just leave now. So
But I mean, it takes a certain amount of, I mean, courage to do that, and so you did it, and obviously, like you've done much better since then.
You
well,
showed
it's different
them.
when
Yeah.
I mean it's different when you're writing your own music
Oh,
because
for sure.
then yeah.
Sure.
But it what is interesting is a lot of the times when I'm producing, I'm not really producing with a mind to how I'm going to be performing it live, and so it can get a little bit interesting when I do actually sit down and try to arrange it for a live performance, and like present me is cursing past me for writing certain parts because now I have to learn how to play these solos that are super difficult or are going to be like at least hard to execute in a live setting.
So I've got a question for you. What does synthwave as a genre or as whatever mean to you? Like, what are the things that? Because it sounds like you kind of like just accidentally happened upon it, but now that you're kind of like fully in the whole thing, I mean, what does it mean to you? What is it? What speaks to you about it?
I think just like the nostalgia of it is what I really get down on is, I again, I think my influence is just in talking with other artists that are current in the scene today. Like my influences tend to be a little bit older, just because I'm an older guy, 38. So like a lot of people that are in the synthwave scene, you ask them like who their influences are, and they'll tell you Kavinsky and some of the initial guys that kind of helped launch the scene. But
Sure.
I mean, and I know that there's this whole debate about like, is like Depeche Mode considered synthwave and blah blah blah. It's like that.
Well,
Like
they're
synth,
original. They're new wave, so
It's like
yeah. I mean,
Jurassic
it was.
synthwave.
Yeah, I always just felt like it was splitting hairs to a
Yeah.
degree. Like I mean, I guess where I was coming from is that, those are kind of the artists that I grew up with, like Depeche Mode and New Order and like
Yeah.
Sparks and like Marauder. Although like I really didn't discover him until later. I think I was more of like a Vangelis fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, synthwave for me, I think is more. It's more just about the nostalgia of things because that's how I relate to it personally. It makes me think of when I was a kid and listening to a lot of these different bands that had similar sounds, and I really like what people are doing with synthwave today, where they're really modernizing the idea of synth pop and electronic music and yeah, I think it's really cool. So I go back and forth to like where one day I'll be thinking, okay, yeah, synthwave is definitely a genre, and then another day I'm kind of thinking, well, it's all just kind of electronic music, and you know, I think it's something that I struggle with, especially just because my stuff is not always accepted in the synthwave scene because it's a little bit too like nerdy or chippy. And then likewise in the chiptune scene, like sometimes I don't always find acceptance there either because I've got enough like synth sounds that aren't like necessarily pure chip that
Sure.
it's just different. But I kind of like living in that like middle space. I think it's fun, just kind of
the razor's edge right now.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just really enjoy being able to push people's ideas of what synthwave is on the one side, and then being able to push what people's ideas of chiptune is on the other.
But I feel like both of them go hand in hand. Like,
Absolutely.
I think my major like push towards going towards synthwave stuff is like I played a lot of video games. I wish I played as many as I did, but video games are a big influence for me, and I feel like synthwave is just like a natural progression. Like, ooh, you like this kind of stuff? Well, here's synthwave, and that's like an evolved form of video game music. So
Yeah.
I still feel like they're both pretty intertwined and
Yeah.
tight with each other.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. And I think it just goes back to a celebration of like retro stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be movies. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be video games. I think a lot of us are influenced across different media, and so I think it's cool when people are drawing in from all the different influences and doing kind of a new take on things.
It hits the nostalgia.
I think synthwave is a state of mind. It's a mood. It's a state of mind, and it could be many different things. Because you touched on cinematic, and you said Vangelis, which, man, I could listen to the Blade Runner soundtrack all the time. So as opposed to like being a very strict set of like song structures and tempos and things like that, and timing signatures, it's really, as long as you hit that nostalgic kind of mood, I think you can kind of be included in the umbrella term of synthwave.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Everybody's included.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing is, I think it's healthy when we're approaching things from an inclusive perspective. I think as soon as we start using genre definitions to exclude people, that's where, things get a little bit uglier, in my opinion.
For sure.
So,
well, I have to say that synthwave as a whole is one of the most inclusive genres of music. So there's that as well.
Yeah, well, I always wonder how much of that has to do with how small the scene is, because I mean, it can feel like there's a lot of people making synthwave music and listening to synthwave music, but then when you kind of compare it to other genres that are out there, it's really kind of a drop in the bucket compared to like some of those other electronic genres, and so I think that just by nature of us being kind of a smaller scene, it creates a little bit more camaraderie, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, are you ever afraid that it's going to lose that personal touch? Like, I certainly think about like what happens when an artist breaks it in and you get like bro synth. Like, I'm so afraid of bro synth right now. You know what I mean? Like, is there like, I love the fact that we can reach out to people that are making the music, that love the music, other fans, and everyone is like wants to talk to you, wants to be involved, and it's like, oh, is it Muse or whoever it is that breaks it open and turns it into like this homogenized elitist community, and I'm so afraid that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I just feel like that's the natural progression of things, though, like in any genre. And I think that as long as the artists that are part of that scene are continuing to evolve kind of their own understanding of what synthwave is, in this particular case, then yeah, somebody like Muse may kind of latch onto it and use elements of it in their stuff, but is if we're truly kind of pushing ourselves as artists to kind of figure out like uh, how we can create music that is kind of a new retelling of what synthwave is, then it can stay fresh for a long period of time.
Yeah, I feel like there's like no limit to what you can kind of do with it. Like it's so like I'm always surprised by what some people come up with.
I'm morbidly curious to know what bro synth would sound like right now. Like I want to know, but I don't want to know.
Listen, the scene is dead when that is a true thing.
Oh God, bro synth.
Bro said the scene is dead. You just know it. That's how it is.
Yeah, again, I feel like it kind of goes in waves where it's like, to me, I mean, you could almost say that
Was
like
there
some of
pun
the band.
intended in that?
Oh, I didn't mean it that way, but we'll say it was intended. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it comes in phases, and I'm just thinking about like the early 2000s. There was kind of this huge wave of electronic music. Thinking about like Passion Pit
Yeah.
as an example, to me is kind of like bro synth. And I mean, I love Passion Pit. I've been to see him play with like a couple different iterations of that band over time. And I definitely went through my phase with that. But again, like I think that we see cycles of stuff, and so it could happen, but as long as people are kind of dedicated to continuing to push the envelope and do new and interesting things with it, then yeah, it we may still have synthwave, it just may mean something different in like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the evolution. I'm just shocked by the amount of iterations that there are right now. It's hard to keep up with just what everyone is doing. Like I feel like almost overwhelmed with the amount of artists and the amount of like variation that there is within the scene. And it's also the most exciting part about it is like you just don't know what you're gonna get.
It's like the industrial revolution of electronic music. Like all of a sudden, all this shit's exploding and going crazy in a very short
I
period
feel
of
like
time.
people are in the like we are in a creative renaissance in a particular genre of music.
Yeah, it's a cool time, but it can also be challenging from an artist's perspective, because now that it's so easy for people to produce their own music, it just means that there's more people doing it, which is great. But there's a it also means that there's a lot of bad music out there
Mm-hmm.
too, and sometimes cutting through the noise can be difficult.
So, is there an artist out there, or maybe a group of artists, that really connect to you as in the synthwave realm?
Or any realm.
Any realm. What do you like? What's speaking to you?
So I mean, I don't know if I've been brainwashed because I went on tour with him and had to listen to the songs for like the last couple of weeks, but Gregorio Franco's new album Scourge is like I really have been getting down on that recently, just because I really respect him as an artist, because he kind of takes things in a different direction. I mean, it's still heavy synth, but it's very different sonically from a Perturbator, or a lot of the other people that are making that kind of
Sure.
like dark, heavy, kind of like Dance with the Dead. That like Greg has a definite sound to what he does that's like instantly recognizable, and that's what I appreciate in synthwave, is when people are able to iterate and evolve, but they also don't really lose sight of who they are as an artist, and like kind of the message that they're trying to get across. So that, yeah, I've been listening to that album a lot lately. I really wish that Glitbiter would put out some more stuff too, because there's a couple of tracks of hers that I can just listen to over and over again. Same thing with Nina. I really enjoy listening to her stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to think from uh, I'm just trying to think of other artists. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really don't listen to a whole lot of synthwave in my free time, just because I'm always afraid that I'm going to start like unconsciously picking up ideas that other artists have already used.
Yeah.
So I generally listen to a lot of older, soundtracks, and I'm watching, like crappy, like sci-fi Italian films that have these like really great, like synth heavy soundtracks. And that's kind of, if I hear something in there, that's kind of where I'm drawing ideas from. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of like contemporary guys that I'll listen to on a regular basis. And it's not to say that I don't like it. It's just that
sure, no, and yeah, it's a difficult balance, and I definitely understand like the not wanting to be either consciously or unconsciously influenced on what you do, because I think like the biggest thing that you have as an asset in synthwave community is your own voice. What you do, what you personally bring to the project, makes it unique. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely understand like. And for me as a fan, I'm like, I don't care. I'll listen to everything. I'll pursue. I'll go full into it. But not be. I don't listen to other podcasts, so I'll freely.
I don't either.
So because I don't want to be influenced either by tone or format or whatever it is. Like, just let it be pure. So I definitely understand the sentiment of it.
Also, I don't have that kind of time either. I can't invest that much time.
I feel like Spotify is a cool tool, but I almost kind of wish that I don't know if you guys ever were around to use Last.fm. It still exists, but it's kind of like a crappier version of what it used to be. But what was really cool that I appreciated about Last.fm is it was one of those first sites that had kind of the machine learning behind it, where it would do, hey, you're really into this artist, here are some similar artists that you might like. And just hearing you talk about like having more time, that's how I used to spend my time, is kind of going down that bunny trail of like, oh, well, I really like these guys, and so I'm gonna check these guys out, and then, oh, here's the similar artists to them. And that's like when I was listening to a lot of like British indie rock and stuff like that, that's how I discovered a lot of those guys, was again just kind of going down the bunny hole. And I know you could do the same thing in Spotify now, but like you were saying, I don't really have a whole lot of time to.
Right. If I had the time, I'd love to do more of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why it's so important to make sure that we've got people that are doing a good job of curating in the scene and really kind of raising up the stuff that is worth hearing, and having some diversity in terms of like having a bunch of different playlists that have different themes. I think all of that stuff is healthy for the scene, because then it helps people like myself who don't have the time to go searching and digging in the crates to get exposure to some of the cooler stuff that's going on.
I'm really curious if there are other, like, does that exist for all forms of music on the internet? Like, I'm sure there's probably hip hop playlists and stuff like that. I'm just like, because I've never really paid attention to it before synthwave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that it exists. I mean, I know that there's like plenty of chiptune playlists that are available in Spotify and other places.
Lo-fi beats to study too. There's another one for you.
Yeah, there you go. So, and I mean, I'll say too, I don't use it as much these days, but Pandora was really formative for me when I was working my day job a lot and just kind of wanted to expose myself to music that I wouldn't normally hear. I don't know how good the algorithms are now, but there was a lot of stuff that I ended up discovering through just kind of setting a Pandora station on an artist that I really enjoyed and just kind of letting that run. And I'm listening to it on headphones. And if I'm like, oh, I really like this particular artist, I would make a note, I'd pull up Notepad or whatever and actually write down the name of the artist so that I made sure to check them out later.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's people that are still doing that. I just personally like don't have the time to kind of be digging and then like I was saying, yeah, I kind of want to keep a fresh perspective on things and not feel like I'm aping somebody that is contemporary.
So, what do you have coming up? I think you're playing two shows or one show out west, Portland and Seattle. Yes.
So yeah, it's the really the only thing that I definitely have on the books right now or that's confirmed is Neon Rose Fest, which happens I think not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, from November 22nd to the 24th, and it's going to be a huge festival that occurs across both Seattle and Portland. And I think night one is going to be in Seattle. That's Friday, November 22nd, which I'm not playing that night, but I'm gonna show out and support the other artists in Seattle. And then night two is November 23rd. That's where I'll be playing. And it's kind of got an early start time. So if there's anybody that's interested in coming out to see me play, like I'm going to be opening up that show, which normally I would kind of be like, oh, like why am I opening? But then when you look at the other artists that are on this bill, I mean, you've got Tokyo Rose, Betamax, Makeup and Vanity Set, Dead Royalty, Dream Reaper, like all these guys are heavy hitters. So like I feel lucky to be on that bill, and I'm looking forward to kind of warming things up for them.
And did you do Echo Synthetic?
Yep. Yeah, I did Echo Fest. I've done it 2 years now, running. And this year we actually made it the final show of the Dark Future tour. So when Glitch Black, Gregorio Franco, and I like wound things up, we wound it up on night 2 of Echo Synthetic Fest. And I have to say that's probably one of the best shows I've ever played in my life. Just the energy from the crowd was so great. And James Mitchell, Echo Synthetic. I mean, he always does a good job of coordinating things and getting some cool artists in, and like the lineup for both nights on Echo Synthetic Fest was really fun because the Dark Future guys, we had kind of played with a lot of them when we had been touring, and then to kind of have this reunion where a lot of these same people like Starfarer, Neuron Spectre, trying to think who else, but like a lot of these guys basically like came back to Atlanta, and so we got to see everybody again, which was cool. But yeah, the crowd was terrific on both nights. But being able to play a hometown crowd, and this is really kind of the first time where I felt like there was some recognition for Watch Out for Snakes. People came out specifically for me. It wasn't just kind of like, oh, hey, we just happened to be at this event and we liked your set. There were people that were like wearing my shirts and stuff like that, which
It's gotta be
I'm
awesome.
not trying to make this a culture of me or anything, but it was just like one of the things that I feed off of from a live performance perspective is the crowd energy, and the crowd energy was definitely there that night.
You know what? That's something I'd definitely be at odds with, because like thinking about going to shows, and I've been to many shows, it's like you don't want to be that person wearing the band shirt to the show, but in your situation, being the artist, seeing someone who's wearing the shirt, that's something that would probably change my mind about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I always go back to like that Jeremy Piven thing where it's like, don't be that guy. But in a scene like this, that makes a lot more sense. If you're going to go see some major act, like, yeah, don't be that guy.
Well, yes, this is is a difference. So
I think it's different too when it's a festival like Echo Fest was, where you've got like 7 or 8 different artists on each night, and so I feel like it's more culturally acceptable to wear a shirt of one of those bands to something like that than it would be if like I was just playing a show just solo or whatever, and then somebody wore one of my shirts to the gig.
So our homie Unholy Rat King was there as well.
No, actually, he had to dip out.
He dipped out.
Yeah, he had some personal stuff that he was trying to take care of, and so he had to cancel out.
That's too bad.
I think it was like a couple of weeks before. But I mean, I've had a chance to meet and play with Unholy Rat King before. He was at Echo Synthetic last year,
Yes, he
and
was.
yeah, I definitely enjoy and appreciate what he's doing too. Because again, he's got a very different take on the electronic scene, and a lot of what he does have like some chip influence to it. So he and I are kind of like chip bros in that respect.
I'll pass that along to Chris because I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Uh,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate you coming on. It's been very entertaining and enlightening. But I think concludes our interview. So thank
All
you
right.
for coming on, Matt. Again, we could see you next in the Portland show. What was the date again?
The date is Saturday, November 23rd. So, and again, get there early because I think I'm going on around like 5:30 or 6. I mean, there's a lot of acts that are playing that night, and so I think they had to start it a little bit earlier to make sure that everybody gets enough set time. But yeah, I'll be kicking things off there on the 23rd.
Sweet. And then also check out Scars, which is out now. And I saw that are you releasing on cassette?
Yep, I've got a cassette release. People have been kind of eating those up, so I'm getting low on my stock, and I haven't decided yet whether I'm gonna kind of do like a reissue or just do another run of the cassette. I'm kind of getting to that point with a lot of my merch where I have to kind of make a gut check on like, do I want to do another run of the same thing or do I want to kind of switch things up? And one of these days I still want to do some vinyl releases. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe if there's enough desire for it with Scars, that could be kind of the next thing that I'm working on.
All right. So get the physical merch while you can. You heard it. It's in low quantities and high demand. So get the stuff when you can. Go out and see Watch Out for Snakes. And then do you have any other shows coming up, or is that kind of it for the foreseeable future?
I've got a couple of things that I can't announce yet.
Okay.
So I'll just kind of hype things by saying stay tuned for that. But I do have an Atlanta show that I'm going to be playing in kind of mid-January with Vampire Stepdad, Frisky Monkey, and Saoirse, who we've all played together before, and it's gonna be a fun kind of like family affair because Juan and Frisky Monkey, it's gonna be his birthday, and so it's definitely gonna be like a fun birthday show where we're all just kind of getting together and having a good time. So yeah, I don't know the exact date yet, but just kind of keep posted on Bandcamp. Like that's where all my shows are listed.
And then you're on Twitter and Instagram and Bandcamp and all those things, so you're readily
Yeah,
available.
I'm on most social media platforms. I'm Watch Out for Snakes the band, just because Watch Out for Snakes was already taken in most cases. I think Twitter is the only one that's a little bit different because of the character count. So on there, I'm Watch Out for Hiss, and it's three S's.
Yeah.
So
All right, so please follow Matt. Again, thank you for coming on. Check out Scars. It's a really great album, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
yeah, pleasure's all mine.
Okay, we're back. Hope you enjoyed the songs and interview. Engaging guy. So, tell me about some vinyl shit.
My most recent get was Street Cleaners, Annihilation, courtesy of EPR and Laser Steel. I didn't know the music going into it.
Interesting.
I bought it as what the package entailed.
Which is like the Doom, like, tribute.
Yeah, kind of
Call
like
back.
that. So sweet cover art, which is always a plus for me. As I've discussed before, like I prefer black vinyl over special colorways, but the color on this vinyl was really crazy, so that kind of caught me too. Like something that I normally wouldn't fall for, I fell for. But artistically, great package. I've known some street cleaner stuff before. I had previously passed on a release that came out a while back. I forget from who it came out. Maybe it was EPR, I'm not sure. But I gave this one a go, and it's a solid package, like all the way around. Music, art, presentation, everything. Good, darker wave stuff. I like it.
So give me a number rating for each article that's important to you. Package is what? What do you rate that?
The packaging on this one, I give I'd say it's a gatefold. And there's stuff inside too. Sweet. The cover is really good. I'd probably give this like an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Quality of the disc itself.
Quality of the sound quality.
Yeah.
Well, it's electronic purification, so I give it a 10.
Okay. It's hot shit.
They do very, very well with their releases. I've only ever gotten one bad thing from them, but everything else has been perfect. I'm really salty about the one bad thing.
And then how about music overall?
And the music overall, I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
So we're going to give the overall album an 8.3.
Give it, somewhere around an 8. 8 out of 10 for this release. It was a good one.
It's a good one. Sweet.
I'm glad to have it in my collection. And I actually messaged... is it Jeff over at Laser Steel?
Yeah,
is that his
Jeff.
name?
Yeah.
I messaged him he posted a picture of that, and I was like, oh, I missed out on this. I was trying to remind myself to grab it from you before it was out, and he was like, hey, I got you. So even though it was out on the website, he took care of me.
Oh, what a nice guy. Jeff's good shit.
So I got what I wanted.
No, well, that's what's important.
I always get what I want.
Sometimes you just got to take.
Just grab it and take it.
Grab it and take it.
For the Conan fans out there.
Yeah. I just got finally, and Mike is going to be really happy with this. I finally got Cat Temper's second album. And that I haven't listened to. I mean, I've listened to the album, but I haven't listened to the vinyl yet. And he outdid himself. This time you get a poster and a sticker and the download card. And I wasn't expecting the poster portion of it. So that's cool. We'll see what the vinyl is like. I already know that I like the album, so.
You bring up something that I want to talk about too, like for the vinyl fans out there. If you get something on vinyl, do you want a download code? At me personally, like I've got a good DAC, a digital analog converter, and I do streaming stuff and high quality downloads.
Hi-fi boy.
So I like digital downloads, especially if you can get them in lossless formats. That's important to me. Like if I get something and it comes with that, I'm a happy boy. If it doesn't have it, I almost kind of think it's bullshit.
Yeah, this is a great question to ask, and I'll throw this out on Twitter later. But to me, the digital download, because I listen to music in two ways and two formats only. If I'm at home, it's on the record player. I don't fuck with anything else. But if I'm in my car, it's digital only.
Mm-hmm.
So I want both of those things because it's real fucking bullshit that I've had to do. You buy a vinyl release, and then you end up spending $10 or more on another album. So on the album again. So you spend 30 to potentially 50 depending on what it is, and then turn around and have to pay full price again for the digital version of it. Oh, that is. Really...
And you know who does a really good job about that though? Blood Music, because their vinyl releases don't come with a digital download, but most of the stuff that they have on Bandcamp you can download for a name your price. And I'll usually do that and like throw $1 in there and in the messages be like, I bought the vinyl. So like, thank you.
And that's part of the reason why I'm a little sad, like that Blood isn't going further, because like I bought most of. I'm missing one Perturbator LP that I care about. I'm not chasing after the
I don't. Yeah, the B-sides ones aren't that interesting to me. But
I'm just missing his second album, and that's it. And so, like, being able to like chase the vinyl and then say, "Hey, here's $3 for you. I bought this on vinyl." Yada yada yada. I really appreciate that. Although, what's interesting, I haven't found, like, for the Uncanny Valley or the Non-Paradisi, you can only get the additional EPs physically. You can't get them digitally, can you?
No, you can. You just have to look them up. They're separate. They aren't included with the album. So, like, specifically, the Non-Paradisi EP, you have to look specifically for that one from Blood Music.
Hey,
you can get it.
Thanks, bro. That's important because that's
no problem. It's that and Uncanny Valley. That's the three. Yes, yeah. Those ones you just have to look specifically for the EP. They're on their own.
Let me tell you, if you're a fan of Ghost,
yes,
and you want a really hot like secret thing, the Secret Arcana EP.
It's so good.
Non-Paradisi, like, holy shit. It has such a wonderful blend of like dark wave, synth wave, the whole, and plus the extended cut of, I forget the song. Like, it just does it for me. Like that.
Is it Rain in Hell? I think that's what it is.
Maybe what it is, but it's super hot. The whole thing is hot. That could have been an album on it. Like, you put 2 more songs on it, and I would have said that's a great album. It's awesome. It's amazing EP.
I listen to the EP more than I do the regular album.
Hey, respect. It's great. Is there anything that's coming out that you're really excited about? It seems like it's really hard to keep track of.
It's already out, but there's stuff on my list that I have to grab. I want to get Lightspear's Metro, which is out on Electric Dream Records. I want to grab that. Might grab the new Arcade High that got released through Electric Dream as well. And I'm sure I probably got something on. Well, I've probably got like half a dozen things on pre-order that I'm waiting for, but I can't remember. Oh, I also picked up Ghost's new album finally on vinyl.
Jesus,
because I wanted to go actually grab it at the record store.
Okay.
Rather than order it, and I ended up getting the clear version.
Really? Okay.
You got pink, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and then there's a green, like a mint green,
and there's also a purple, I believe,
and a black, and a clear.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
See, the thing is, like, Century Media is a legit, like, pretty big record company, so they can afford to do all these ridiculous colors. I'm curious if there's any quality differences between any of the presses.
It might. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great when I was listening to it. It's flat, so I'm happy about that. It's not warped.
A very minimal expectation. The vinyl pressing is flat.
Oh, man. If I get something that's completely flat, nowadays, if something's completely flat, I am fucking, like, through the roof. Like, I am amazed and happy and appreciative because shit's wacky.
Yeah.
So, like, I was just at Best Buy the other day still looking at computers, looking at laptops that I want to buy.
This is like, this is what, 7 months?
It's been a while. But I just so happened to go to, like, they still have a Magnolia section at the one that I was at. So I went over there, and they just had a rack with a bunch of vinyl in it. And they had some stuff. I picked up a couple of Gorillaz records because I was like, I might as well get this. Like, I can't even remember what the first album's name was. But I opened that up. I set it down on the platter, and I turned it on both sides for both the discs that were in it. And they were absolutely fucking flat, and I was like, oh my god, this is unheard of, like, right now. So happy. I open up Demon Days, first disc I slap down, absolutely flat. Throw in the second disc, I have never ever had a more fucking warped record in my goddamn life. Like, I've had some bad shit, but this one is so fucking bad. So bad that it is, without a weight or a clamp or anything, it is literally unplayable. Like, it would not fucking play.
So what I've noticed, and you can help me on this particular thing, but what I've noticed, a little warp is manageable.
Yes.
So, like, because my Berserk that I have is fucking warped. And there's no skipping, there's no sound distortion on it. It just looks a little wavy as you're playing it. Mm-hmm. What are the fatal flaws of warp? Do you get skipping? Do you get sound fluctuation?
Well, it could not even play. So one of my Master Boot Record vinyls that I got through Data Airlines, and usually their releases are really fucking good quality too, but I got one of theirs, and dropping a needle on this one, even with the turntable weight that I had at the time, I've since changed to a heavier one, but even with the weight, the disc was like dished so bad that just the friction from the needle in the grooves would cause it to slow down and then stop playing. The platter would still turn, but the record would fucking stop. And this Gorillaz record that I have, the second disc in Demon Days, is even worse than that.
Fucking
so
hell.
It wouldn't even play. The platter would spin and it would sit still because it's so bad. So little of it would actually touch the platter.
Okay, that's fucked up. So
I could eat cereal out of this motherfucker. It's bold so bad.
So like mine, like with the Berserk record that I have, and I'm sorry, let me clarify. This is the Berserk soundtrack for the original 1997 series, or the score.
Yeah, from Tiger Lab.
And I actually found that in a record store, which I was really like, what?
Did they have that at Cheapo?
Yes, they did.
Okay, because I know they got a couple of their other previous releases.
So I'm like, but just seeing it out in the wild was really crazy to me.
It's fucking wild seeing it out in the wild. Yeah.
But like it didn't have like, it doesn't have like a mono like warp. It seems to have like waves.
Like a little ripply, yeah.
It's ripply is what it is. And so it kind of...
Mine's a little like that too.
But otherwise, the plays just fine. And like you get to that final song on there, and you're just like that meme where like it's cranked to 11, and like the kid with the headphones like crying with his fists in the air. Like I went there. I was like, oh, all the feels.
Yes.
So I got a question for you with Electric Dream Records. So Electric Dream 2 is out.
Yes, which is my runner-up for second best album of the year.
Which is mastered by Dynatron.
Yes, Dynatron masters every Electric Dream record release
That was my
for
question.
vinyl.
So Dynatron was on Blood Music, has done some collaborative work with Perturbator.
Yep. Had albums on Rad Rush Records. Like, that's the fucking OG synthwave label.
Okay, all right. I was going to ask you, is he the in-house masterer of Electric Dream?
Yeah.
For vinyl?
For vinyl, yes.
Interesting. Okay. That's a fucking sweet connect right there.
It is. And that is one of the big things that Brian, the owner of Electric Dream, touts. Like, hey, we will specifically master everything for vinyl, and I have this very notable person doing every single one. So what you can guarantee from any of my releases, whether you like the actual content or not, is the quality of the recording will always be
to the high standard.
The best that you can get.
Yeah. I think Tonebox does some mastering too.
Tonebox does a good chunk of what comes out on New Retro Wave.
Gotcha.
Some releases aren't specifically mastered for vinyl through them. You know them, but the ones that sound good, you can pretty much guarantee that Tonebox is the one who did the mastering for that.
So what I'm trying to do right now is solicit Tonebox to come to Minneapolis and play with Galaxy 80. That's my new quest, is to get those two to play together at a venue in Minneapolis. To be determined. So Minneapolis internet, Minnesota internet.
I want that to happen. I want to see Tonebox live.
Yeah.
I am a big fan.
I know that he's said that he's never played the Midwest before, so I want this to happen. I want to see Tonebox.
Isn't he from the Midwest?
He is, but he doesn't play. And I feel like that's not a very uncommon thing. It was just talking to some Nitrowave TC folks, and we were having this exact conversation of like, there's people from the area that are not famous at all from the area and are only famous internationally or on the coast or whatever it is. But home, no one gives a shit. Which is interesting because Minneapolis is supposed to be sort of a music-ish sort of area. And
for some musics.
I forget exactly who it was that it was referencing to because it's not my particular thing, so I kind of zoned out a little bit. But yeah, it was a real conversation. So what's coming up, excitingly enough? So we have the big to-do. December 14th is going to be the Can Wonderland Nitrowave TC Presents Festival. It's going to be the debut live performance of Galaxy 80. We're going to have that at some point in time on Night Ride FM. I'm not live broadcasting it, just so you know, folks. The last show that we broadcast went perfect. Broadcast well, everything was, but I was so stressed out of trying to like do 18 things at once that I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do it. So someone else, if we do it live, it's not going to be for me. I'm not doing it.
You'll still get to hear it. It just won't be live.
It won't be live, but I'm very excited about that. So we've got a first-time performer with the group, a Bad Rad, going. And then obviously we're going to have North Innsbruck. We're going to have Night Audit. We're going to have Denotive. So it's 5 total groups that are playing. And it's looking to be a pretty exciting show. So hopefully, that's a great turnout. The last show. So let's just talk about the last show that we did. So we had a show with North Innsbruck, Denotive, and Night Audit at a venue. It was fucking packed.
It was great. The energy was good. And even if people who came there who didn't know what was going on, like, they were engaged. Everyone's eyes were on the stage.
Yeah. I was not prepared to have that many people at that venue for that particular thing.
It was full. It was great.
It was full. And, we certainly got invited back to play whenever we wanted at that venue, which is really convenient for the both of us since it's in St. Paul. So
yes,
I'm completely fine with all that shit.
And they have good food.
So that's also not an issue. So there seems to be a momentum, and that's really kind of like what I want to talk to, like, the PDX people and stuff like that, is like, is there a noticeable momentum, craving for people to come out and see this kind of stuff? I from what I see, that Neon Rose Fest was well attended, well liked, well received. The shows that we're doing out here in Minneapolis seem to be really well received, and we'll see with this December 14th thing, like, what's going on. I'm really excited to see Night Audit again. I'm really excited to see Micah play for the first time. I know that he's been talking about some of the stuff that he's going to be doing. I mean, shit, we hired a special lighting person just for this show.
Has Micah found a guitar player yet?
Yes, it's all settled.
Nice.
So I don't think he's going to bring out anything synth hop related per se.
That's a project for another time.
Yeah. But I think he's settled. He's ready to rock, and he's got, I know that he's looking to do more live performances, so I'm excited about that. So it's really a matter of bringing. That's why like Tonebox. Tonebox is like for us is like a car ride away. He's very close to the Minneapolis market, so that's why I'm soliciting Tonebox, especially like all the stuff that he does and like what that could bring. I just want to see it live. It'd be fantastic.
I want to get Tonebox and Tokyo Rose out here.
Oh, that's hot shit. Y'all listen to that? We want that. So what's coming out for you? What are you looking forward as far as releases go? Anything exciting for you personally?
It seems like you can't even anticipate anything that comes out now, because all of a sudden it's just like you get an announcement that like, here's the next thing that's coming out. You had no idea until that announcement came out, and then you have to buy it. But like down the road, speaking of Tonebox, his new album, which features Tokyo Rose on one of the tracks.
Go figure.
Wow. That's something that I am looking forward to. I'm not sure when that pressing's going.
January.
Okay, that's not too bad for a new retro wave release. It's better than 6 months, which is something
sometimes
that
happens.
So that's cool.
Speaking of time, the Power Glove EP.
Oh, yes.
Have you received anything on that?
No.
So I thought that was already pressed, ready to go. Apparently not.
No.
Which is real disappointing for me because I was hoping to have that. Because that was September that it was pre-ordered, right?
October. It was like Halloween-y themed, so it's Halloween-ish time.
It was beginning of October.
Are you sure?
Yes. For sure. Because I got that as soon as it fucking came out. And I thought, because we were talking about it, and I thought it was going to be like, oh, we're probably going to get it around Halloween. And, that's panned out really well.
Okay, middle of October. 10/14 is when I ordered it.
So it's going to be the same thing as Playback then, where it's going to be 4 months before we see it. That's the only... Now, granted, I have the electronic version of it, so I get to listen to whatever I want. That's fine. But I want the goddamn physical thing.
But here's the thing, and I know Time Slaves has gone away from this. They don't do it anymore. Electric Dream Records does not ever do a pre-order. They always have stuff ready to go. When they announce it, they have it in hand. So there's that. Like, I feel at this point in time, maybe a couple years ago in synthwave, if you were trying to sell something, maybe you would take pre-orders for it and then it would come out later. But now some of the stuff that's coming out, especially from big names like that, you should just go ahead and press it because you know it's going to sell, and then release it when you have it in hand.
And hopefully they're established by now where they've got the cash on hand. Like, and I get it. Like, folks, if you're you get frustrated, like I do from the consumer standpoint, but I also understand it. It's very expensive to press vinyl. It's extremely expensive, time consuming, all of that shit. There's a lot that goes into it. So when you get a vinyl record, like even if it's a shitty pressing, there was a lot of energy that went into that shitty pressing.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yes.
So you're pursuing a very particular, thing. And I know that like Mike from Cat Temper appreciates this because, he's a vinyl collector as well. I've been smarter, like with the Tonebox record. I bought it digitally. Have been listening to that record. It's fucking fantastic. I'm gonna ask you. I haven't asked you this yet. What's one of your favorite songs? And I know you're gonna say the Tokyo Rose one collab.
Yeah, yes.
Other than the Tokyo Rose collab on Tonebox record, what is your standout track?
I listened to it once all the way through.
Okay.
I listened to the track with Tokyo Rose a second time because I like that one so much. I'm not listening to it anymore until I have the vinyl.
Interesting.
So I can't answer that question right now.
Okay.
Because I would rather have the experience with that.
I keep listening to it because I really like it, and I can't do that to myself. I'm not going to do what I did with Power Glove, with Playback. I didn't listen to it at all. I just ordered the vinyl and didn't listen to it until 4 months later until it came out. With this, with Tonebox, I listened to it. I continue to listen to it even now. I definitely have. Well, I guess we'll have to wait to have this conversation when the vinyl comes out. Listen to it, that kind of stuff. But I definitely have some standout tracks, other than Tokyo Rose, that like do it for me. And then just like it's a bunch of other stuff that's coming out. You know, still waiting for the Power Glove. Honestly, at this point, I can't even keep track of, and it's not, and I'm not dropping $600 in a week. Sorry, 9 days.
It happens.
For vinyl, like, you know, I'm just picking up stuff here and there. Now, have you listened to the? You said you finally got the Ghost record, Valediction. Have you listened to it, absorbed it? Do you have any thoughts on that record?
I listened to it all the way through. What was it, Sunday? I really like Ligature Marks.
Mm-hmm.
I really like a couple other tracks. But I still, at this point, like with further listening and stuff, unlike the other albums, I don't like it as much as the other stuff. Like the other previous albums, each one I've listened to, I've been like, oh, okay, this is different. And then that one will turn into my favorite. Like each one is turned into my favorite. But this one, I don't know if it really does it for me, if it has all the stuff that I really, really want.
So what makes the Ghost album different than other releases? Number one, there's only one non-vocal track on the entire thing. So for folks that have been with Ghost, like his earlier stuff, if they're like Behemoth or Non-Paradisi or
it's usually
Possessor,
you get
2 or 3.
Yeah, one track maybe that has vocals on it. Yeah.
And the second thing is it's all him singing for the most part. I think it's all him singing on the tracks.
Not that I have a problem with that or anything.
No. He's actually a very
the stuff
good singer.
on Possessor, I really, really fucking liked.
Yeah, no, he's actually a very good vocalist, and I really appreciate the fact that he's really going into it, and it's very clear that there's a transition in his music where he's finding a balance between the darkwave Ghost and maybe some of his previous other ventures, because he played in black metal bands, I think maybe death metal. That's his background before Ghost. And it's this mix of, to me, like, Valediction is a blend of absolutely everything that came beforehand plus some of his older stuff. So it's like, it sounds a little bit like Depeche Mode. It sounds a little bit like the Ghost that you would recognize from previous records. It sounds a lot a bit like death metal. It sounds, all those things blend together, and each song is very different. So there's like
one thing. I was listening to stuff on my lunch break today, actually, when I was at home. One thing that I noted, because I was listening to stuff from Valediction, and I was listening to stuff from Non-Paradisi when I was at home today. And one thing that really stuck out for me is it seems the newer stuff on Valediction, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing or anything, is not quite as complex as some of the older stuff.
I think with this record, it really shows a lot of traditional vocal aspects where you're right. It's not as complicated musically, because in vocal music, you don't have, the vocals carry the entire song. And so they carry the complexity or the not complexity, if it's a pop song structure, whatever. I mean, that's a whole other thing. It relies heavily on the vocal structure and the vocals to carry the song overall. And so therefore the songs aren't as musically complex as what he's done in the past. I strongly, and I've had many discussions on the internet, I'm like, for me, it's like an 8.5. That's where I place it, because I get the callbacks of where he's going to. I get some of the Bauhaus things. I get some of the Depeche Mode things. I get some of the black metalish sort of things. And the thing is, like, he blends all that shit so well together. Like, the record works cohesively and there's a lot of different elements that he's jamming into it, which don't necessarily all cohesively work, but he does it. And it's still Ghost. It's still things that I recognize as being Ghost. Like, I feel like he's able to take a genre of music, distill it into what he does, and it's recognizable as a Ghost track. I don't feel like anything that I've listened to on that record is like, this isn't fucking Ghost. Like, it's like, oh, this is Ghost's version of this particular thing. I feel like if you listen to it more, it'll grow on you. And as I've continued to listen to that record, it's funny, like, as you said, like, not initially liking it, and then I was like, this is my favorite thing. With this record, I'm like, this is really good. Now, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but I really like listening to it. I will actually put it into rotation. I know that if I don't like something or if something's okay, it's not in a rotation of something that I have to purposely seek it out to listen to it, where this is something that I'll actually throw in to listen to and enjoy without having to, like, I'd like to have a whatever moment. So I'm glad you finally listened to it all the way through.
Well, I had before. I mean, I don't know why. Usually I'm like, okay, pre-order. I'm getting this as soon as possible.
And it might be frankly, it might be the divergence from you and where he's going. And that's completely fine.
If it was through Blood Music, I would have had it on pre-order. I'll just say that, because it's also who I'm buying it through, too, has something
Fair
to do
point,
with it.
because I've had to buy the album twice. This is one of those situations where I'm pissed off that I bought the vinyl, and I also bought the digital version of it, and I wouldn't give a shit if it all went to Ghost. I would be fine with that. But I know, strictly because of how much it costs to make a vinyl, that it mostly went to Century Media and just the cost of producing it. And then two, it's through Century Media, so it mostly probably went to them. And I don't know that I went to support Ghost as much.
Mm-hmm. I don't have an account that tracks everything that I've ever bought from them with Century Media. Blood Music, I have an account. It's personalized for me that has my info that tracks every single thing I bought, too.
Here's how responsive Blood Music is. I bought something from...
Well, maybe now. But in the past, there's been some issues.
Right now, I'm still missing some items from the rarity sale that I purchased. I got a response very quickly stating what was going on, and I was very pleased with that. I'm like, okay, cool. We're cool. But at least I got a response. It's to me. I was able to very specifically point out the things that I had concerns about because of how they're...
You got merchandise other than music from them.
Yes.
And I'm guessing that's probably coming from Finland. Is that the deal?
It's coming direct from Finland. So apparently what I learned is that the Finland Postal Service is on strike.
Yes.
And
keep that in mind with Blood Music sale coming up if you are out of the U.S.
Yeah, if you're getting shit, and it's gonna be a hot minute before you get your stuff, but it's worth it. So some of the things that I noticed, Dynatron, I think everything. There's at least like 5.
Not all, but there is a good amount of Dynatron stuff available on the
There's
sale.
at least 5 LPs, vinyl releases from Dynatron. Dan Terminus, there's at least one
that's not reduced that much. I'm kind of sad. I kind of want to get it, but I wish it was reduced as much as the other stuff. Still, I'd say the best value you can get, Master Boot record, $10 for vinyl. Come on, people. I'm surprised there's still any left.
I can't even believe it. Are you fucking stupid? Like, get it right now. Do it. I have the clear pressing of Master Boot Records Random Memory Access. Is that the name of the album? Or is it RAM? It's not RAM. It's slightly flipped around.
What is it? They're all computer stuff, and I'm not a computer person because I know how to find porn on a computer. That's
interesting
the
fact.
Limit.
I just want to give credit here to a little bit of Night Ride FM. So Z from Night Ride FM, I think he designed or made the website for Master Boot Record, and I'm pretty sure he had a lot to do with the Discord thing for Blood Music's Discordia or whatever that is. He's a very busy dude from Tasmania.
Direct Memory Access.
Yes.
Is the album name.
I have the clear version of that, and it is a fantastic quality pressing.
I have the black one.
I'm very happy with the clear. I was very concerned, but again, it's the...
You should have it.
Get it. I think they only have the black version on the sale.
Yes, that's
now.
the only one that's on the blowout sale right now. And the CD, if that's something you still do, and if it is, that's weird.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least. Maybe I'm the one who's weird.
No. It's weird. I feel like with this particular thing that we're in, it's weird. So I understand tapes. Tapes make sense. Apparently, tapes are like... There's an article in Forbes magazine about the rise of tapes as a format coming back, which I don't have a problem with. I personally will never... I don't think I'll ever pursue a tape again.
If tapes are what I used in my car.
Right. I know, but you drive a very particular kind of thing, and it makes sense. It's
20 years old, and it has a tape player in it.
So,
the tape player just started to not work very well, so that's an issue.
And if you have any tapes that are actually worth anything or valuable to you, you're not putting them in there. But do you have a tape player at home? Like
I don't. Like my car was where I was listening to all my tapes. It was great because I was like, vinyl at home, tapes in the car. Let's fucking do this.
So I feel like if I sold a very expensive double tape player at a garage sale, I may have sold it for like $7. It was, when it came out, it was extremely expensive. And I'm a dumbass. And I feel like now, like, I can't give anything up. Like, I'm not going to sell a game console. I'm not going to sell any...
Just don't sell your stuff anymore.
Don't sell anything, because what comes around goes around. And now, like, I'm in pain. Like, and again, like, tapes, I'm not, like... no, I'm not going to
Speaking of which, I'm officially out of the Laserdisc game now. Like, I sold my Laser Active, so the Laserdisc player that also plays Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx 16 games. Like, I sold that. My Laserdiscs are going with it. It's time to move on from that. It's just saying, like, I shouldn't sell anything, but
that's fair. It's a very particular boutique, like, very narrow field of thing. Like, that was always, even when it was in the height of whatever it was never more than like a very particular group of people anyways.
It's like, I'm not really doing anything with it right now. It's taking up room. I could use the money.
And the room for vinyl records.
Yeah, it will free up, because it's right next in the closet on the shelving system that I have that's next to the vinyl. It's right by it. I can go there.
What I like, so the next format that I've seen, I haven't bought any, and I will, because I have is mini discs.
I'm not getting into that again.
See,
I had my time with mini. If I still had my player, maybe, because I had a really fucking good one. But I can't.
I still have my mini disc player.
It's too many things.
I am excited about it, and it's a fucking professional quality mini disc player. So I have no fucking issues here. I'm gonna fucking play it. Buy the shit. I know that there are synthwave albums being released on minidisc. I'm fucking excited about that. That gets me going a little bit.
And it's like, I have to decide what I'm going to do with my tapes right now, because the tape player doesn't work in my car anymore. I don't know if I'm going to get it fixed. I'm probably going to be getting a new car sometime soon-ish.
In the next year.
Here. So it's like, what do I do with these? And of course, like, even knowing all that, Gunship released their newest album, Dark All Day, on a special 2-cassette package. Of course, they fucking bought that.
Of course they did.
Knowing all these things, knowing that, like, ooh, I might get rid of it, but I'm going to buy these.
I'm telling you, this is the game. This is the racket to be in if you're selling physical shit. Because this is, number one, this is where it's at. This is where people are buying the shit. And, like, there's so many fucking, like, little niches you get, like tape community, vinyl community, mini disc community. Like, it's ridiculous.
If somebody starts releasing synthwave on 8-track, I'm done. I'm done with you guys. That's it.
Fuck all y'all. No, it doesn't make it. It's not even time appropriate.
I'm sick of y'all releasing shit on 8-track. Or who's gonna do it on reel to reel? Then yeah, like who's gonna go for the ultimate quality? We released this album on reel to reel. It's $200.
I could see it happening though.
Fuck,
I could see it happen.
God damn it, I would be guilty of it.
Right. You know, I do have a friend that has a reel to reel player. So,
have you been to Young Joni?
No.
Well, it's a sweet restaurant. They just opened up a bar part of it. It's called Back Bar. You have to sneak around the back to go to it. Inside, they have a crazy vintage system, like a Marantz system,
Holy shit.
with a reel-to-reel. And there is a certain group that's like curating music for their reel-to-reel player, making track lists and like curating it and doing all that. And I got sent a picture of what they've been doing. It's fucking ridiculous. I can't wait to go there.
That is nuts. I really appreciate that. Listen, anyone that goes into great lengths doing those kinds of things, I appreciate. I got mad respect for you. It's a very particular, very niche thing, but whatever. Go for your passions. I'm a deaf boy, so I can't hear any of the qualitative difference between lossless and MP3. Can't do it.
That's really sad because the difference is so extreme, to me at least, that it's like MP3 is the grossest thing on earth.
I can't hear the difference. Like with vinyl, what I hear is the sound timbre difference. And I think analog tube system kind of thing, like I could tell the tonal difference, but like as far as like depth of shit, I'm just forget about it. It's not, it ain't happening for me. Anyways, that's us doing a very vinyl intensive episode mixed with a Watch Out for Snakes interview.
Sorry if you don't like vinyl.
Well, you know what? If you're listening to synthwave, you probably like vinyl. I'm just saying it's probably a thing. So anyways, thank you for joining us for the very first episode of the Paradise Arcade. Again, you can find us on all those social media platforms. There is no change from Two Poor Bastards to Paradise Arcade as far as if you're on SoundCloud or if you're on Libsyn or whatever your particular format is. It's all the same. So thank you. This is the first episode, and we will be joining you sometime soon. This episode will play on Night Ride FM with some additional music elements to it, so watch out for that. Thank you for listening. This is Eric.
This is Kyle.
Check you later.